how do you react to someone coming at you like that, to that level?
Like you go in for a hug and they throat punch you.
Right.
Yeah.
It felt like that. Psychologically, wow. It was as if this person just started beating the hell out of me the second I walked in the door. My mind could not comprehend what was going on. And by the way, there's a lot on my mind in this conversation too. My career, where is this going? What does this mean for me? You know, all these fears, anxieties. Did I work 17 years for it to end like this? You know, like I've had a lot of career progression, a lot of opportunities, and I wanted to, that's what I'm passionate about. I wanted to see, I was excited for the next thing. And suddenly I was just so full of anxiety because to get to those things, I had to get past this person. There was no other way.
Welcome to the EQ Gangster podcast, where you will learn practical tools to grow your mental and emotional health and intelligence to be the best version of yourself, both at work and at home. It is real, raw, and transformational. The journey of emotional growth isn't easy, but it's worth it. I believe in you.
Bro, what's going on, man? You got
him.
You got it, bro.
I've been practicing.
Dude, how are you, man?
Oh, man, I'm doing great. I actually just got off work. I was doing COVID ops, my man, the weird situation. It's always at the end of the day where I'm like, all right, it's my last day of the duty week. I got this. I'm about to leave. And then I get the weirdest situation where I'm like, well, this is what you're supposed to do. Wait a minute. And I'm just like, dang it. But my man, I'm here. I'm sorry I'm a few minutes late. I got my HeroFront cup, my HeroFront shirt and sign.
There you go.
And I got coffee in here. I don't care that it's 6:30 in the evening. Let's go.
Boom. And you got
send it.
You got your fly hairdo, man.
Look at this. Look at the lines in there. Each line is where it should be. It's crazy.
Oh, dude, you got the flyest hairdo ever, man. Leave it to the Air Force, bro.
Leave it to the Air Force. We got you, bro. We got you on the hair game. Don't you worry. We're taking care of you.
That's right. That's right. That's awesome. How long you been in? How long you been in the Air Force?
I've been in 17 years now.
Wow. So 3 more to go?
3 more to go, man.
Okay. That's great. And so I'm super stoked, man. Thank you for being willing to jump on here. So for all the YouTube watchers and the podcast listeners here, so Big Josh, senior, NCO, non-commissioned officer for the civilians that are listening in the Air Force, and he has got his own podcast, HeroFront. Definitely check it out. And Josh is big on, I think, lots of different social media platforms, and he shared a real vulnerable story that he had, if I'm not mistaken, not too long ago about let's see if anybody, drum roll here, let's see if anybody else has ever been on the receiving end of a toxic leader, right? So there are probably quite a few of us out there, civilian and military, that have been on the receiving end of toxic leaders. And specifically, one of the dynamics that really resonated is the whole concept of getting gaslighted. And man, it is brutal number one, being on the receiving end of a toxic leader is brutal, right? And by definition, if they're a leader, they are impacting potentially truckloads of people. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say you're probably not the only person that this toxic leader has, impacted. There's probably a lot of people that this toxic leader has impacted before, and just the dynamic of getting gaslighted. But so I want you to kind of jump in, Josh, and share what happened. With whatever detail you can share, obviously, be aware of all that stuff. But so what happened, and then what was the impact on you?
Right. All right, man. So the first thing I'll say about gaslighting in any toxic leader, why it's so hard to wrap our head around, because if that's not how you operate, it can blindside you because it makes no logical sense whatsoever. right? It's like being a quarterback and your own lineman turns around and tackles you. You know what I mean? Who would do that?
That's a great, dude. That's a great. And then, no, not just that, dude. Your own lineman, so you say hike, tackles you, and then says, dude, why'd you make me do that? Like it's quarterback. It's your fault. Like, I can't believe that you just made me tackle you.
And then goes to the coach and then tells him how much you suck.
Right. Yeah. Can you believe this quarterback made me tackle it? Like, I can't. Then start an email campaign, a social media campaign on. Yeah, right.
So everything about it is just so illogical because you're basically on someone's team, but they're treating you like the worst enemy they've ever had in their life. Like your mere existence is unacceptable, right? So
can you break that down? What did it look like for you to be on the receiving end of this toxic leader? What were the actual things that this toxic leader, what was that experience? What did you experience?
So it took me about 6 months to actually catch on to it. I'm going to be honest, because the gaslighting especially is basically this narrative that is false and is just made up and is used time and time again. No matter what is actually happening, no matter what you've actually done, the narrative that person has will not change, period, dot. And so it takes a while, right? Because you're like, okay, I'm not meeting this person's needs. Let me try this. Let me try staying late, like super late. Let me try coming in early. Let me forego working out in the mornings. I'm going to come in extra early. I'm going to turn in things as early as possible. But at the end of the day, the outcome of failure will be their only response. They will find a way. It will be, oh, you turned that in on time? Great. Well, you didn't add this person to the email, so you failed, right? It can go in any direction, right? Anything that you didn't do, whether right or wrong, can be exploited to the 10th degree. And in your head, you're thinking, man, I experienced, not adding someone before, and we just added them later. Like yet in this scenario, you're the worst person on planet Earth, and that's why you're ruining this organization. That's the problems that, I want to point out to you. And it's taking something this big and making it the end of the world. And then telling everybody about that.
So let's go back to that football analogy. So it's like, what if I'm hearing you correctly? So you were even scoring touchdowns, and the coach is saying, well, dude, you like that's terrible. Why didn't you go for the not kicking the field? Why not going for the extra point? Why not going for 2 rather than 1? Like, I can't believe you just went for the touchdown. So like, you're doing great work. So it's not like you're underperforming. It's not like you're not even you're just meeting the standard. It sounds like you were going above and beyond, and you are still getting the beat down.
Right. So like long before I even got there, they were kind of tracking that I was going to be on their team. And so I kind of had a reputation because I had this broken honor guard program that was about to get like shut down. I ended up having the best leadership ever, the best team ever, and the best airmen ever, the trifecta of everything we need to succeed at our job. We were fired up and full of inspiration, and we turned that program around, and it was recognized everywhere. I got to go to Global Strike headquarters and spend time with the leaders of the Air Force. I got to go to DC and have dinner with Chief Joanne Bash. She sat right next to me. So I got to spend time with Chief Wright. He came out to see our program while he was still the Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force. So all these incredible things are happening. Now, logically, you would think that can only help me, right? Like if I knew someone like that was coming to my team, I'd be like, heck yeah, let's go. Let's use this. It actually had the opposite effect, right? I wish that those things about me were never, ever known, because that day one, I knew something was wrong. Day one, when I'm going to meet everybody and that person just goes right on past me. Hey, welcome. See you. Hey, I got stuff to do. Sorry. And, this is someone who is is someone who needs to take care of me as a member of the team, a senior ranking person. And so immediately I thought, well, that's odd. You know, maybe it's a personality thing, you know, maybe it just takes a little bit extra time getting to know that person. And then as time went on, you know, it became clear to me that there was this person's mind was made up, and that all those achievements actually rubbed this person the wrong way. And they actually told me that later on. My very first, I requested a feedback, and I did that because I knew something was off and I needed to figure the situation out. I said, you know what? I'm sick of just standing by and feeling like I'm rubbing someone the wrong way. Am I doing something? Like, I didn't know. There was too many. It was a guessing game. So I said, I'm going to just request a conversation with this individual. And in that first conversation, it made my head explode, man. I could not believe the things that I was hearing, the ferociousness, the anger. It was as if something was building and building, but in reality, there was no conversations that had happened. Hell, I was new. Where did this come from?
So when did you have that conversation? So what, like, you showed up at the unit, and then was it a week, a month, 6 months, a year? When did you have that conversation?
That conversation was 3 months in. Yep.
Okay. So the next question, sort of related, sort of not. So number one, dude, that's tremendous that you requested this feedback session, because you're like, okay, so, something's up. When you started our conversation, you said that it took you 6 months to kind of really figure out, but it sounded like you were kind of in tune to something like, okay, this is off from earlier than 6 months.
Right. So in that conversation, I was basically told that everything that I've ever done was, like, achievement wise, was absolutely meaningless. So that was pointed out. Every single award, every single accomplishment was meaningless and not considered in any way. So this person made a point to take my achievements and try to minimize them as best as they could. So most of the conversation was just an attack on me and my character and how and just me personally, which was alarming considering this person hasn't said more than 2 words to me up to this point. So my head's spinning at this point. And I've been in some sticky situations. I mean, you don't go 17 years in the military and not run in and butt heads with people. You will. It's inevitable. And in every single one of those situations, I've always found a way to make it work. Whether that's a compromise, whether that's admitting fault and saying, you know what, you're right. I gotta set my game up in this area. Or pointing out or getting a third party, whatever it takes, I have found a way to make it work. And so in my mind, I thought, you know what? You know, obviously this person's very displeased with me. I'm confused as to why it's to this level. But every time I've ever been in a sticky situation, I've been able to work it out through hard work, dedication, communication. Like, I can find a way to make this work. And so for the next 3 months, that's what I did. And then at the end of that 3 months, I was toast, bro. That's a wrap. I had tried everything you could possibly try, everything, coming in early, staying late, turning things in on time. And it got to the point where I realized, like, this isn't working. Like, the end has already been decided and it's failure.
Okay. When you were in the 3 month mark, when you said, hey, can I get some feedback? And they gorilla stomped you for whatever, right? So, how did you respond?
So it's really hard to shut me up. And that was one of the few times where I was almost speechless. It's as if, like, you've met someone for the first time and they just pummel you. You know, how do you react to someone coming at you like that, to that level?
Like, you go in for a hug and they throat punch you.
Right.
Yeah.
It felt like that. Psychologically, It was as if this person just started beating the hell out of me the second I walked in the door. My mind could not comprehend what was going on. And by the way, there's a lot on my mind in this conversation too. My career, Where is this going? What does this mean for me? You know, all these fears, anxieties. Did I work 17 years for it to end like this? You know, like I've had a lot of career progression, a lot of opportunities, and that's what I'm passionate about. I was excited for the next thing. And suddenly I was just so full of anxiety because to get to those things, I had to get past this person. There was no other way, right? This was a roadblock, essentially. I had to figure this out if I wanted to continue this successful career and to accomplish the goals that, you know, I've had on my heart and mind for years. And so there was a lot of anxiety in there. So how I responded was I tried to stay as calm as I could. I did feel angry and emotional, but I tried to just reel that in and just try to say, hey, I'm trying to hear you out. I am trying to, I do want to do the best I can. I do want to meet all the expectations of the unit. And I'm going to take what you said and I'm going to try to make some changes.
Okay. So now, and I appreciate you including in not just your intellectual or your rational response in that moment. Like, okay, what's going to be the impact of on my career? What does this mean for my career? Okay, I'm gonna step up my game. But then you also include the emotional response too, which shock, awe, confusion, anger, probably sadness, frustration. Like there's probably a whole truckload of emotions that you were going through. So then boom, you made the decision. Okay, I'm gonna step up my game. 3 months later, so now we're 6 months in, and you were. It sounds like mentally, emotionally, physically, like tapped out. You're like, dude, I don't know what else to do. So now explain that point now. So 6 months of you really making an effort to, man, what on earth is going on? You know, and 6 months in, like, okay, I'm done, tapped out. Describe that time period.
So that was one of the worst times of my life, if I'm being honest with you, because I was in a very vulnerable state coming to this or to this certain work center, because prior to that, I've done military funeral honors for 2 years straight. So I've been around nothing but people losing loved ones left and right. Okay. On top of that, I did 7 active duties, 5 which were suicides. And if you've ever been to a funeral that was a suicide, it's one of the hardest emotionally draining experiences you could ever do. And all I wanted to do was be there for the family, but I couldn't help it. It chipped away at me a little bit. And now I understand why that job is a special duty that's only 2 years long. Because at the end of that 2 years, emotionally, I was like, I can't keep doing this. Some people, it doesn't bother them. You know, everyone's different. But those 7 active duty funerals were unbelievable. And the very last one was a friend of mine who her husband had cancer. And by the time he found out, he had about 2 weeks to live. And so I didn't know him as well as her. But, you know, handing her that flag, like, first of all, you have to think about the funeral itself. You're sitting there holding, like in my position, I hand the flag. And so you're sitting there holding the flag for over an hour, hearing all the things this person did. The people are right in front of you, weeping, right? Like, I call it their soul is crying, because there's no acting. There's no way to replicate it. It's as if their soul is crying. I couldn't directly see her face, but I could hear the weeping. It was raining. It was cold. And oh my gosh, it was hard. When I went to hand her the flag, she was unrecognizable. I thought I might have be looking at the wrong person, which is one of our biggest fears in Honor Guard. You don't ever want to, you want to know where your person is sitting. You have to iron that out. And for a split second, I thought, did I screw up? Because she was so just in a bad spot that her face did not look like her face. It was unbelievable. And then she held onto my hands, didn't let go. She didn't want to take the flag, right? Because that's saying, hey, he's gone. That's it. And she just latched onto me and wouldn't let me go. And so that was on my heart and mind. And my emotional intelligence, like I told you, is trash. So how do I handle that? I typically bury it down inside and try to move on. And that's worked for me for a while, mainly because I have great, phenomenal people in my life. But what I didn't know was that when I didn't have that support system, how does it look then? Does it come out then? And it came out bad. It came out very, very bad. And on top of that, I never quite processed almost losing my son when he was born. I mean, he's 2 years old. He had to go to the NICU. They had to cool his brain. He was having seizures. He was pronounced dead when he came out. They revived him. They don't know if he's handicapped, if he can even move his body. We just had to wait and see. My wife got a emergency C-section, then she got sepsis, and now she's in a hospital. My son's in Kansas City, and my daughter's with me saying, what's going on? What do we do? And that's the first time in my life where my emotions disappeared from my brain and I had an out-of-body experience. That was the first time. And I can tell you that is the worst feeling. I would rather be bawling my eyes out than to feel like an empty shell of a person. But that feeling is what started creeping on me in this work center. So going through the honor guard stuff, not properly dealing with those things, almost losing my son, burying it down, trying to just move on and just act like it didn't happen. When I was in this work center and I didn't have my support center anymore, I didn't have my friends that I made at my last assignment. I didn't have all that. I even had my in-laws in town. So like that was huge for me. But I didn't have any of that. And I'm now in this uncomfortable position with a person who is just beating me down, ruthlessly beating me down every single day. I don't only have to worry about getting through the work. I have to worry about being attacked and doing my job. Right. And I started getting this hollow, numb feeling more and more and more. And I knew it was bad when my wife and my kids, we went to this beautiful beach. No one was there. We had the whole place to ourselves. And I felt nothing. I felt like I could die right now and it wouldn't bother me. I could win $1 million right now and it wouldn't affect me. It wouldn't even make me happy. I felt literally nothing, like I wasn't even human anymore. And that scared the hell out of me more than anything I've ever experienced, was that feeling. And I've been on antidepressants ever since.
Wow, bro. So I am so sorry, dude, for all the stuff that you had to endure, on the honor guard stuff with dealing with all the families and the funeral guard and the different just thinking about the emotional toll that would take time after time after time, and then what you experience with your own, with your wife, and then with your brand new baby, and then throw in the work antagonist, in your world as well. That is a truckload of emotional intensity that it's no wonder that you landed at a place where you were numb and detached and probably alone, and just all the intense big giant emotions. It's like when you get, because again, with my background, I can completely relate and understand and empathize, bro. It's like when you don't have the emotional language or tools or awareness, or and you get hit by so many big intense emotions at once. It's almost like if for those people that have Macs, right, the MacBook computers and stuff, it's like the COD, right, the circle of death, right, when the old circle of death goes on, and it's just it's just spinning like, well, I'm pushing buttons and I'm pushing the power button, like, and it's nothing. There's nothing. There's like no one's home, right? No one's home. It's like the old school days when the TV just goes Snow White, right? And it's just it's just static. It's like, and any kind of input from loved ones, from family, from anybody, it's like, dude, nobody's home right now. Like I'm not feeling you. I'm not seeing you. I'm not. It's almost like, yeah, dude. And it's interesting that you even put the words to it, like scary. It is. It's a very scary. It's almost like when I've been in that spot, like you could cut off my arm, and it's like you just, yeah, right. I see you just cut off my arm, but I'm not. I see a lot of blood. I'm not feeling anything. I'm not processing. It's like it's a, and I'm sure, to a degree, I'm sure it's probably a survival mechanism that happens to our bodies to keep us still ticking. But it's a scary place, man. It's a scary place. How have you since then? How have you? What have you done? Have you been able to start working through any of this stuff? Have you taken any steps yet? Is it still fresh off the press, and you're still kind of, where are you at right now?
So the antidepressants was a big first step, I think, because I call it pride or what, lack of. It was probably a mixture of pride, ignorance, and thinking that I knew what depression was, right? And so, like, I always thought that depression, like, that's not me. And for most of my life, it hasn't been me, to the point where, like, it was hard to even empathize with someone going through it, because I truly did not know what that felt like. Right. And so there was a little bit of like hesitation with getting help, because I was like, is this it? Like, is this depression? Like, is that what I'm feeling? Like, this is, holy shit. Like, this is bad. And I felt shameful too. Like, I don't want to spend time with my family and then tell my wife I didn't feel anything and I didn't enjoy myself. So now I'm trying to pretend, right? Oh no, that was great. Well, what's wrong? You seems like something's wrong. No, I had a blast. Yeah. You don't want to say you didn't have fun with your family. Like, what are you supposed to say? And so now I'm like beating myself up. And I knew I needed help. And I had a provider who admitted to me on the phone that he's gone through depression and he took Zoloft. It was really him leveling with me that made me comfortable to start that medication, because I was so on the fence about it that one little misstep on the provider's end, and I would have been done. I've been out. And without it, what would have happened? I don't know. I probably would have been admitted, if I'm being honest. So, I started the medication. It was really, really rough at first. Like, it makes it worse before it gets better. And when I say it makes it worse, I mean, I couldn't physically get out of bed, which is so unusual. So I thought, did I make a mistake? I called to work. I had to tell them what I was going through at that point. What choice do I have? I'm in the military. I have to say something. I can't just not show up. And I was met with, well, you need to put in leave. So talk about getting kicked when you're down. You hear all this preaching about mental health. And then when I finally asked for help, it's, well, if you're not coming in, you're taking leave, like chargeable leave. Just the viciousness was just, oh my God, it made it so much worse to get through. And, it for about 2 days, I couldn't get out of bed, just that adjustment period. And and I felt like I sunk even lower. It was really scary, because like I have this family to take care of, and I felt just so crippled, like the world was just crushing me. And I just needed like to get through this time to see if this medication works. And thank God it finally started working. It did start making things more manageable. I didn't have the tools yet, and I wasn't talking to anyone yet. And now I'm to the point where I'm doing both, which I told you the other day. And I've had 2 sessions, and I have to say, I feel like you can't have one without the other. Like, there's only so far like medication would take you, but there's still things that are going to trigger you. And and when you're on medication, you have a little more buffer for those triggers. But if something does get through, bro, it's like 10 times worse because it would take something very, very powerful to break through your medication buffer. But then if you still don't have the tools and it gets you and it stabs you in the heart, like you're going to get triggered and you're going to fly off the handle. And so like you need the medication if that's truly, what's best for you. But at the same time, there's vulnerability, there's courage, there's standing up for yourself and going into therapy, which is terrifying. It's hard it's the facing the man in the mirror. That's the hardest person to face. That's the hardest person to look at. And when you're in therapy, it's all you. It's your episode every time. Right? Thoughts on that?
So thank you for your vulnerability and your transparency and just sharing kind of what your, the behind the scenes journey has looked like for you so far. And, something that I tell my audience a lot is that, if in the process of you growing your emotional intelligence and getting emotionally healthier, you feel like you come across an emotional injury or a trauma or whatever, that you don't feel like you have the awareness or tools or self-management to be able to handle yourself, get professional help. Psychiatrist, psychologist, therapist, counselor, whatever, to help you work through that phase, that area, that injury, that trauma that you need to. And I'm proud of you for having the courage and the awareness and the self-management to do that, to pursue that based on what you felt you needed. And so for me, my goal, I guess, for you, for other people, goal is strong, a desire, hope, and for me too, not just you, but for me too, that we all develop the emotional muscles and the emotional healing, so that our emotional muscles become strong enough to handle whatever it is that we need to handle. And let me say with a caveat that includes having the emotional muscles that has the emotional awareness to reach out when you need help. Hey, doc, hey, friend, hey, boss, hey, whatever, pastor or chaplain, or like, I need help, man. And that takes courage. I feel like the country has done some decent progress in normalizing counseling and professional help. I think there's more we can do. And this analogy that I use a lot is, name the top professional athletes on the planet. Pick your sport: golf, basketball, football, MMA, whatever your sport is. I'm going to use LeBron. We can use Russell Wilson. Pick your guys. The top. Khabib. In UFC. Pick the top guys. I've read articles. LeBron James, Tom Brady, Russell Wilson. They spend $1 million a year, literally $1 million a year,
cow,
on taking care of themselves.
Wow.
So and that is surrounding themselves with the best doctors, the best therapists, the best nutritionists, the best muscle guys, the best right. So they're surrounded by a team. They're all smarter than them at whatever area that is that their specialty is. If the greatest athletes and business people in the world are doing this, why don't we have that same concept? Our tribe of, to steal a Tim Ferriss, line, the tribe of mentors, our tribe of specialists that can help us based on what our particular need is. And it should be normal. It should anyway, right. I'm just proud of you, dude, for reaching out when you felt like, okay, I'm tapped out. I got nothing. I need help. And you did that, dude. I'm proud of you for doing that.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I think talking about it and owning it was the best thing I've ever could have done. And I wish I didn't wait so long to do it. And I think just like that woman handed me the flag, she didn't want it. That would make it too real to her, right? Kind of similar to that, asking for help is making it real now. It's making it real. It's making it a thing. And that's terrifying, right? Because if you have it bottled up, it's not a thing. It's a thing to you, but that's it. But once you put it out there and you ask for help and you own it and you're real with it, that's the only way to get past it, man. Like, and I waited so long. And I'll say another thing. Sometimes you tell the wrong person. That held me up too. That first person I talked to and I asked for help was the wrong person. And I got burned even more for asking for help. It got exponentially worse. And I gave up and I just took the abuse. What should I have done? I should have said, this didn't work. It got worse. And I should have went to the next level. I should have done that, but I was embarrassed. I'm used to being the go-to guy, not the worst person in the organization. I was full of embarrassment and shame, and it's just trying to hopefully ignore it and make it go away. And it just, of course, that's not going to happen. And so I wished, to anyone in a situation like that, for one, own it, be real with yourself and ask for help. You can't do it alone. And for two, you could not get the help you need with that first person and be fully prepared to go to someone else that will listen and that will intervene. Because if something truly is not right in your organization, I promise you there's someone in your chain that cares and will take action.
Excellent points. Love that. The taking ownership piece. One of the things that I've been sharing a lot recently on some of the podcast interviews I've been on is, what happened to, so so a couple things. We all get our emotional foundation in our childhoods. La-di-da-di, everybody, right? That's where our emotional foundations and stuff is built. Good, bad, or indifferent, period. Nobody leaves their childhood unscathed. Nobody leaves their childhood unscathed. No, even if you had the old Leave It to Beaver childhood and it's all rainbows and unicorns and skittle farts, everybody comes out of their childhood with some emotional baggage.
Some baggage, yeah.
And and this is another quote I say all the time on the podcast is, if you don't deal with your emotional issues, your friends, family, and coworkers will be forced to.
Absolutely.
And so what happened to us, and a lot of times we get a lot of emotional injuries and trauma in our childhood, and sometimes even before we have the words to describe what happened, even before we even are aware of the emotions that we're experiencing, sometimes we experience serious trauma even before we develop language. So what do we do with all that stuff, right? So what happened to us as children is not our fault, but it is our responsibility to grow and heal from those things that happened to us that weren't our fault. And so, but you described it so accurately that taking ownership, it's scary, dude. Most people we don't have the language of emotion. So it's like the only way to get emotional healing is to do jujitsu with Noble. You got to roll with me for an hour straight, dude. We're going to roll. And at the end of our roll, you're going to be emotionally healthy. Well, I don't know what jujitsu is. I've never rolled before. Noble is a big, scary looking dude. I don't think I want to do combat cuddles with Noble. I don't think I want to do aggressive yoga with Noble, right? And so that's what happens. It's like, you want me to do what? You want me to do emotional work? Whoa. Okay, number one, I don't know what that is. Number two, I've never done it before. Number three, what on earth am I going to find out once I do said emotional work, whatever that means? Number four, what if I find out something super scary about me that I don't want to find out? I don't want to discover some aspects about Noble that I may be discovering here, right? And so all of those things, man, it can almost be emotional work, can almost feel like I'm about to enter into a real life horror movie. I don't know what's behind this door. I don't know, is something going to jump out at me that I'm not prepared for. I don't know how to handle. I don't know, right? And so what do? We push the can down the road and continue our emotional dysfunction and say, oh well, we become emotionally dysfunctional, right?
Right.
We become functionally dysfunctional, and so everything that you have done and overcome to get to the place where finally, okay, no, line in the sand, dude. The embarrassment, the shame, the fear, the guilt, all those emotions that you were going through, I've got to take ownership of this and move forward. And dude, that's so powerful, right? That's the beautiful thing about getting to that place. It's brutal. It's not sexy. It's hard. It's all those things that you said. But that is when, dude, the healing can begin when you like take ownership and say, no, like I'm gonna do some work now. I'm gonna figure this out.
Mm-hmm.
It's been too long, right? So, dude, I'm just again super proud of you for getting on this journey, being willing to get on this track, uh, this running track, so to speak, to begin your emotional fitness journey, because you're going to see as we can continue and as we stay in touch, God willing, from now until kingdom come, I'll just be super excited to see how your life changes and transforms as a result of you taking ownership and being willing to grow yourself and work on yourself and ultimately become the best version of who God called you to be.
Absolutely. Thank you for that too, Noah. You're a great friend, man. I know we just met and we've only had a few talks here and there, but I love what you're about. And I love how vulnerable you are. Opened my eyes. I thought, man, because you had one post that talked about like all your achievements. And then you flipped the script and you came out with a post of all your failures. Bro, I resonated with so many of those failures. It hurt to read. It hurt me to read because I know how those feel like. But I was so impressed at you sharing that. Like, it inspired me, man. It really did. It inspired me to face myself because it's so, bro, you say you have a PhD in a lot of things. I got a PhD in avoidance, bro. I'm the avoidance guy, bro. Let me avoid that. You piss me off? Avoid it. I'm stressed? Avoid it. I'll throw the avoided tab on anything, man. I got a whole pack of stickers that say avoid. And so I got so good at that, oh my God, it makes everything astronomically worse. If there's anything in your life that you care about and you avoid that thing as a way to resolve the issue, it's going to get astronomically worse. And it's just never the right answer. That's why I'm wearing this shirt. You want to see the back of this shirt? It says, I showed up for myself. That's why it's on my shirt. This is my shirt. I put that on there. And that phrase to me is facing the man in the mirror. I showed up for myself. What does that look like for you? It's doing that run that you've been putting off. It's starting that college class to finish your degree that you haven't done for years. It's going to counseling and admitting that you need help and you can't do it alone any longer. That's showing up for yourself. And that's kind of the mantra I've been trying to, absorb, especially lately, because avoiding it kind of had all these other unintended consequences that I feel like I should touch on. So whether you tell it to a counselor or not, those things that you're holding inside are going to come out one way or another. That could look like, you can't sleep all of a sudden. That could be binge eating. That could be drinking. That's how you're coping with it. Your body's finding very unhealthy ways to cope with it. And for me, I cut myself off drinking. I haven't drank in 3 years. If drinking was on the table, your boy would be blitzed, hammered, and my life would be ruined right now. So thank God I put that behind me, because this situation would have sent me off the edge with that. So that wasn't an option. I can't drink. So what did I do? How did I cope with it? As I'm bottling this up and carrying it around and trying to ignore it. And how did that come out? Well, at work, I was feeling very small and marginalized. Now, remember, I just got done meeting the leaders of the Air Force. I feel like I can do anything I put my mind to. I feel, which is exactly how I should feel. I should feel like that. That's what I'm trying to bring to the team. But suddenly I don't recognize myself in the mirror. Suddenly I feel like I can't do anything right. And I feel small. I don't feel seen. I don't feel heard. Every time I say something, it backfires. Every time I try, it doesn't work out. And I'm shrinking and shrinking and shrinking until I basically feel completely invisible. And so what did I do? Your boy jumped on TikTok. No, I started making my humor and just my attention seeking. It got out of control. I shifted the lack of attention and self-worth in the real world, and I shifted it online. And like Noble said, I have a podcast called HeroFront that's all about doing what I'm doing right now, sharing a story of resilience on how someone got through something to help. And so it's all about highlighting these stories, right? Well, I stopped highlighting their stories. It became what my wife calls the Josh show, because I was trying to fill that void of worthlessness by making myself feel important on the internet. And it didn't end well. I kind of lost a few friends in that process. People that I really care about and look up to, I let down very, very badly by letting it creep into trying to fill that void in the wrong way. And ultimately, that's the situation that led me to starting counseling. That's what triggered it. That's what I said. It's not worth it to me to avoid it and lose these people in my life. It's not that. That's where I draw the line. It was like a cold glass of water splashed on my face. Reality check. I am not going to lose the people that I care about in my life because I feel small, and the way I'm handling it is trying to brag on the internet. And so I shifted gears, man. And I got real with myself, and it felt really therapeutic to be real with myself, to finally face these things that I've been putting off and hiding and terrified to face. It felt very good, surprisingly good, to own it and to take control of my own life again.
Bro, so thank you for your vulnerability and transparency. That is a massive connection, one that I absolutely, as a recovering people pleaser addict, 100% did for a truckload of years, trying to seek out the validation and approval and affirmation on social media that I didn't feel like I was getting anywhere else. So I was seeking my identity in the approval of other people, which is brutal and ultimately impossible, because there's always going to be somebody that's not going to dig you. And dude, that's great self-awareness, reflection, connection. And I think that's half the battle, is figuring out the origin story, of what's going on. Once you make some of those connections, now you figure out, okay, well, so where did that come from, right? Where did the people pleasing addiction come from? What was your earliest memory of that time? And really trying to do some reflection and deep dive around that. That's excellent, excellent. And then that's great too. Great awareness that the loss of or maybe perceived loss or whatever, right, of some friendships or relationships. It's like, okay, whoa, wait a second, right? I love it. Hey, that was my cold water in the face. Like, okay, so something's up here. Something is not tracking. So that's great, dude. Great awareness. And again, I appreciate that that vulnerability, and and I love what you said too. It's when you did finally reach out to the counseling or the therapist you're going through, it's when you finally get to a place where, regardless of, and for some of us it's a longer journey than others, but when you finally get to that splash of cold water on the face, whatever that is, for me it was yelling at my wife 3 times in 3 weeks, 4 years ago. And then another one that I have not shared very often, but another thing that happened right around that same time frame was, my daughter was 10 at the time. So 4 years ago, daughter was 10 at the time, and she was, getting the preteen phase, right? 10 years old, a few more years, and she was gonna be teen. And I don't know what, dude, I don't know what was going on, but like out of nowhere, she went to a 10 emotionally. Like I'm talking blood curdling, crying, screaming, waterworks, the whole nine. And at that time in my emotional cluelessness state and emotional neediness state and emotional dysfunction state, when she went to a 10, I immediately went to a 10.
Mm.
And dude, like I was shaking. I went to Hulk mode. As soon as she went to a 10, I immediately went to a 10. And dude, I was shaking. Thank God that I somehow had the enough of awareness, like where I had to remove myself from the room, lock myself in the bedroom until I could calm down. But I was shaking. It terrified me because God forbid, right? God forbid, dude, I just don't even want to think about it. But it terrified me. That was another one of my triggers to go seek help, to get counseling for me. And like you said, once I took ownership, well, awareness one, two, ownership, it is such an empowering step
Mm-hmm.
to like, look, I'm done being controlled by my feelings and emotions and my dysfunction. I'm done being, dude, because for all intents and purposes, dude, I was a 40-year-old 5-year-old. Right?
I think I've heard you say that before, and I think it nails it, man.
You know what I'm saying?
It nails it. Yeah.
Definitely. In all these interactions, I was being a 5-year-old. And so anyway, I appreciate you sharing so real and raw, dude, what your journey's been like.
Absolutely, man. I'm not going to come on the EQ gangster and sugarcoat it, bro. I'm going full send.
That's right, bro.
I'm going full send, brother.
That's right. That's how we do it.
And the other thing I'll say is what scared me too, that finally asked for help, aside from disappointing, those friends that we're talking about, was that I felt like exactly that. I didn't have control of my emotions. And what does that look like? What does that mean? Well, for me, not having control of my emotions is compulsively making something worse. Where a logical, emotionally stable person would say, got it. Hey, let's take a break. Let's cool off. An emotionally unstable person would feel compelled and drawn to the chaos of emotion. It's almost irresistible, right? And that compulsion, that loss of control is going to burn bridges. You're going to lose friendships. You're going to yell at your wife. You're going to go to a 10 on your kid. That compulsion is a dangerous place emotionally when you've lost it. And, it might feel good in the heat of the moment sometimes here or there, but I promise afterwards, it doesn't feel good. It does not feel good to go off on someone you care about. It feels terrible.
That's right. The analogy that I use is the Bruce Banner to Incredible Hulk mode, right? So I would go Incredible Hulk mode. And when you're in Incredible Hulk mode, the food that I feed off of in Incredible Hulk mode is anger and rage. And it's like, and like you said, it's such a great, it's almost intoxicating. It's like, feed me more, give me more anger and rage, give me more anger and rage as I wreak havoc on everything and everyone around me. And in the moment, like, oh yeah, this is great. This feels so good. But then once you calm back down into Bruce Banner mode and you're looking around and you're seeing dead bodies, you're seeing destruction and homes and all kinds of stuff, just destruction. It's like, dude, did I do that? Like, yeah, knucklehead. That was you. That was you that caused all this. And then it's like, I want to jump off a freaking bridge, right? It's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that I've done this. But you're right, in that moment, man, it's this weird psychological dynamic that's going on when you get emotionally hijacked and emotionally triggered. It's almost like the fly that's drawn to the drawn to the fire or something. It's like, man,
right.
Something is attractive about it, but it's incredibly, like you said, dangerous and destructive, and harming and hurtful and
typically it is people that you're close to that you're going to hurt, because they're the ones that can trigger you. You care. If it's someone you didn't care about, you're not going to go Hulk mode on them, right? That Hulk mode is when you're vulnerable and someone stabs you just in the right spot of your ego, perhaps, or it's usually 9 times out of 10 someone you care about. And that's what makes it worse, and what makes it so much more important to get under control, because those Hulk mode triggers are typically your people you're coming after are the closest people to you in your life.
Right. That's right. That's right. Yeah, that's great, dude. Awesome, bro. I can't thank you enough again for your vulnerability and transparency. How do we follow you, find you? What,
Right.
your website, podcast, all that stuff.
Okay, so HeroFrontPodcast.com. That's my main website. I got my blog. I just started my blog today. I just threw that on there. So I'm going to keep continuing to do that. That's very therapeutic, right? It's kind of like journaling, but you're able to share that journal with the world. So it's pretty beautiful. So HeroFrontPodcast.com, or if you search HeroFront Podcast on any music streaming app or YouTube, that's how you find me. It's that simple.
And social media on as well.
Oh, definitely. If you look up HeroFront on Facebook, I'm on there. If you look up Joshua White on LinkedIn, you can hit me up there. I'm on Instagram. I'm on TikTok. Yeah, I'm pretty much on every single platform. If you search HeroFront, it'll pop up.
Okay, awesome. Thanks again, Josh. Totally appreciate you. Thank you for sharing your journey of your toxic leader experience, what that journey has been like for you. Super excited for your continued growth and healing and change and transformation, bro. I know you're going to impact a lot of people, dude, on your growth journey. Thank you, bro. Totally appreciate you, man.
Yeah, can I tell you thank you real quick? I want to tell you thank you, Noble, because although I kind of went on my emotional Hulk rampage, and I made things go from bad to worse. I didn't deserve someone to show me empathy. I'd say I probably didn't deserve that at that moment in time, but I needed it. I needed it, and I so desired it because I just felt guilty and I felt bad. And you gave me that light of encouragement, man. You didn't have to do that. You did not have to do that, but you gave me that encouragement and that love that I needed to know it's going to be okay. And it gave me the courage to work on myself. Like, you really gave that to me because I so desperately needed something to cling on to. And you provided that to me. So I just want to tell you, it was a message, right? Well, it was a very nice message, but it's just a text message that you sent me. But that text message meant the world to me, man. I want to tell you, thank you for that.
Dude, thank you, bro. Thanks for that feedback. Really, really appreciate that. Yeah, thank you. I'm very thankful and grateful that it was helpful to you along your journey, your growth journey and healing journey, man. So thank you, brother.
Absolutely, man. Thank you.